Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome back to Big Mouth. You can continue this and many more conversations with me over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad. So yes, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Everyone's talking about it for the wrong reasons. This has been another week to forget for Star Wars, with the exits of Game of Thrones showrunners Dan and Dave as well. So, look, it's bad. It's never been like this. Never. When George ran this, he ran a tight ship. Even when people reacted badly to the prequels, he was able to control the situation. All those three movies made money. You either liked them or you didn't. But this is a new level of toxicity. And there is toxicity out there towards Star Wars and the people who run it. So I want to say something before I read these leaks, right? Mostly about the ending of The Rise of Skywalker. I want to say that we're dealing with people, whether it's Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, or especially Daisy Ridley. I remember seeing Daisy Ridley on the press tour. I remember seeing how excited she was. This was a big break. She was working on Star Wars, and we were excited for her. Everything was new and exciting. Star Wars was back in the hands of J.J. Abrams, and it was awesome. I wonder what it's like now to be Daisy Ridley or the main cast of the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy. Not very nice. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm suddenly going to love The Last Jedi and say it didn't bore me to tears and didn't disappoint me as a Star Wars film. But I think when we're talking about films, when we're talking about TV, we have to be careful. Now, even if they are not very respectful of us, we must always be respectful and careful how we talk about people, because they are human beings. Kathleen Kennedy is a human being. She's a very successful, wealthy human being who lives in a bubble. Most of these people do. But they are human beings, and they do read. They do read and they do look at what we do. They do. I don't want a war with the entertainment industry. I just want them to understand where we're coming from. And I think we must be constructive in our criticism. Now, I know being controversial would make me more successful as a YouTuber, but I don't care about that. I'm here because I'm passionate about films and TV, and I'm very vain, and I want people to watch me at the end of the day. So I just think no matter how angry we are about what's going on with the entertainment industry, the discourse, the culture war, I think we must always be careful, and especially Daisy Ridley. I like Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley is a really nice person. And personally, I think she's a really good actor. Now, a lot of you have said a lot about her acting, and I think you're wrong. I think her reactions, when you see tears coming through her eyes, when she looks upset or scared, she's amazing. She's a well-trained actor. Let's get that clear. Now, also, before I get into this, I want to talk about Rey as a character. Rey isn't actually a bad character. She's not. I've been thinking about this quite a lot. She hasn't been fleshed out because JJ created her as a mysterious character. That's where the problem is for some people, I think. So in the first film, she's able to wield a lightsaber. But by the way, so is Finn. He's wielding a lightsaber, maybe not as good as her, but he is. That surprised me in The Force Awakens as well. But no one seems to mention that. Now, it was obvious what JJ was trying to do, was trying to create a mystery. Who is she? Where is she from? And that will be explained in these leaks I'm about to read out. As I say, I don't know if this video is going to be deleted by YouTube or taken off. Hey, I'll take my risk. I'll say before I read this, I don't know if they're true or false or fake, but they're interesting things to read. So yes, I like Daisy. I like Rey as a character, especially in The Force Awakens. But I like her. I think she's okay. We always knew it was her story, so I don't know why people are so upset about her. It is her story. It was always meant to be her story. They decided to have a female hero. We had a male hero for the OG Star Wars, the original with Luke. Then we had, basically it was about Anakin. Whether you think he's a hero or a villain, that's up to you. So maybe it was time for a female villain. I mean, a female villain. We don't know that yet. Maybe she will become a villain, but I doubt it. But at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, they decided to go for a female. And I think some people in the fandom menace, that might be their issue with it. And I think, again, we must be constructive of what we're saying. Now, as I said before, I'm not a fan of The Last Jedi. I think Solo Star Wars movie is an okay movie, but it's not the best thing ever, right? I think we can all agree with that. But I think if you think about Rey, you're not really going to know if she's a good character or not till the third movie. This upcoming movie, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So we're going to read this now, and I'm going to be constructive, I'm not going to be aggressive, and I'm going to remember that human beings are working on this. No matter if it's Disney, Bob Iger, or Alan Horn, these are all human beings, and it's important to be constructive. So let's be constructive and read this. Updated Star Wars leaks, October the 31st. Regarding the end, it goes like this. Rey will confront the Emperor and Kylo Ren will join her. In order to get to her, though, he needs to confront and destroy the Knights of Ren. He does so and kills them. He also has his blue lightsaber at this point. He then proceeds to join Rey. They fight the Emperor. Kylo at this point is redeemed, but ends up being killed. Interesting. Is that being killed? Falling to his death. Yes, falling. Rey, we find out, is the granddaughter of Palpatine. Interesting. Now this, I know people are going to get pissed off about this, but isn't that one of the theories? We all have exciting theories. Is this so bad anyway, right? Isn't that more compelling? And doesn't that make her even more amazing? That someone that's come from such darkness ends up such a sweet, brave young woman. Just think about that. Just think about it. I know you're going to call me a shill. I'm kind of coming from this from the other side. I want to look at both sides of this. I find that more fascinating than just breathing fire constantly. Right. Where are we? Rey, we find out, is the granddaughter of Palpatine. Ends up fighting him one-on-one. The Emperor uses his powers, lightning, whilst Rey now has two lightsabers. Kylo's that he dropped before his fall. Rey is able, because she is a Mary Sue. Obviously, this is coming from someone with an agenda. Able to do what nobody else can. She defeats Palpatine one-on-one. And basically, let's have a look if I can click onto this. Can I click onto this? Yes, I can. Right. Where are we? Drop before his fall. Rey is, and because she's a Mary Sue, able to do what nobody else can. She defeats Palpatine one-on-one. Remember, Luke, Vader, Maul, and his brother were not able to do this, and they were all experienced. She kills him and then heads off to Tatooine. She's asked what her name is. She replies with, I am Rey. Rey Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker. Do you get it? Anyway, yeah, that's right. She just takes the name of Skywalker just like that because that's what Disney think is right and what all the fans want. Now, obviously, this isn't necessarily what the fans want. I'm just scrolling down here to see if there's any more information. So, what have we got here? A fear that no one else aside from maybe Mace Windu has achieved. Darth Maul and Savage Opress were both defeated by the Emperor when they were attempted to tag team him. The Emperor even killed Savage Opress in the fight. Vader had to use a surprise attack against the Emperor. He lifted him up from behind and then threw him down the central shaft of the Death Star. Luke never actually faced the Emperor, so it's unclear if he would have been able to take him. Now that's interesting. Maybe a bit of heart could have destroyed the Emperor. He's all powerful. There's no question about that. After killing Palpatine, Rey travels to Tatooine. Yeah, we've seen him. This last bit of information regarding Rey travelling to Tatooine and revealing herself as a Skywalker appears to confirm previous leak from Making Star Wars. That leak revealed that Rey returned to the homestead where Luke Skywalker grew up and was asked by a local what her name was. In response, she said, Rey Skywalker. We already read that. What do you make of this new leak? Well, listen, as I said on the top of the show, I'm going to be constructive about this. By reading. Now listen, we had a lot of leaks about the Joker. Most of them, if not all of them, were true. I understand that. And I think probably these are true. But we don't know. Let me stress. I'm reading something from the internet. There is an agenda right now to destroy this film from the fandom menace. A movement I support. I support it when I agree with it, like everything. Just because I say I'm a member of the fandom menace doesn't mean I'm a Trump supporter, doesn't mean I agree with everything they do, right? Let's get that straight. And for me, I'm a lover of Star Wars. I'm a fan. I want this film to be successful. I'm not just doing videos to destroy this film, to convince you not to go and watch this, not to go and support this. Now, big YouTubers who are members of the fandom menace have got more than their hatred for Lucasfilm, Disney, and the sequel trilogy. They are business people now. It is in their favour for them to create disdain, hatred, and negativity. But I have nothing to gain by doing that. And that's why I want to talk about this constructively, as a fan. Right? I've spoken about The Last Jedi and how it kills everything dead. So J.J. Abrams got a really hard job to do. I blame J.J. for not staying for the whole trilogy. I've said that before. But we need to move beyond that, because I am a J.J. Abrams fan. I've been watching his material since Alias and Lost, and the man's a genius. No question about that. But anyway, we've spoken about that before. Let's look at what they're talking about here. There was nowhere for this film to go. JJ had to contrive something, and he has. There's no villain left. Now, we don't know what if Snoke was really killed in The Last Jedi, if Snoke was Palpatine. We don't know any of that. But there's not much. There's nowhere for this story to go, because Johnson killed it. That's one of my issues. He seems to tie everything up quite neatly, right? Now, I know the Last Order, or the First Order, sorry, the Last Order, or we're at a bar or something, but the First Order, right, is out there, and they're still oppressing everyone. But apart from just fighting them, all you've got is Kylo Ren. That's not much of a villain. Don't get me wrong. That bloody phone, ignore it. We're talking about bloody Star Wars. Anyway, I'm not stopping. I'm doing this now. We are talking. So Adam Driver is a really, really good actor. This is a guy who makes indie movies. I think he's too good for this, but he's done his best as he could. Now, I think the starting off point for Kylo in The Force Awakens, which was written mainly by J.J. Abrams, I think they do a good job with him. That was a great starting off point for Kylo. And that whole thing that he kind of is obsessed with Vader, I loved that. And that was interesting. And I think once we get to the middle film, that's when the problems began. He became less relevant. They tried to make him into a joke, and that's a shame. Rian Johnson was the wrong choice for a Star Wars movie. That's not Rian Johnson's fault. I've said this before. Rian can only be Rian, but it just didn't work for me, or many people. But again, he's a human being with feelings, and I don't want to call him names, and I don't want to be nasty. I just want to say that his way of making a Star Wars film isn't what I wanted from it. And I think that's fair, and that's right, and that's plausible. Now, obviously, Rian comes from a different point of view, and he was brought in, and he decided to be a bit controversial. He tried to create twists that just kind of took away, instead of giving to the piece and to the people watching the piece. So, what I'm trying to build up here is that JJ had to contrive something for this film. So so he decided, I'm gonna build this whole movie as a bookend for the Skywalker saga. Now, I've said this before, and I say it again: Return of the Jedi is the bookend you need. But George was always going to do a 7, 8, and 9, and that was always going to be interesting. I think his 7, 8, and 9 wasn't a close-off of the Skywalker saga. I think it was starting anew again. In a way, the Phantom Menace was the same thing. Although it was a prequel, George was very clever to make that film and bring the next generation in. And the next generation, the younger people, enjoyed those films more than the older Star Wars fans did, admittedly. So JJ's had to contrive something. He had to bring back Palpatine. He had to bring back a threat so big to make this film relevant. Because they had the wrong guy on The Last Jedi, and he finished everything off and he killed it, JJ has to do something. So he brings in Palpatine, a really real threat. What do I think of Palpatine, Rey's lineage being connected to Palpatine? You know, Palpatine being her father. I think it's fucking beautiful. I think it's amazing, and I think it's compelling. Now, most of you have probably turned off already, but I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. JJ had to do something. Now, isn't it a shame that all this has been leaked? I don't know how this has been leaked, if it's true, but it's a shame. It's a big shame, because these would have been amazing twists. Now, we don't know what's going on, because maybe they've gone back to reshoot a lot of the film because of these leaks. We don't know. These leaks could be wrong. We don't know if even this is going to happen. But if this is true, I'm fine with Palpatine being Rey's father. I can imagine that Daisy is going to perform the hell out of this. And I'm looking forward to that if that's the case. So this thing at the end where she goes to Tatooine and she reveals she's Rey Skywalker. Again, reading it off a screen isn't the same as seeing how it's going to be. Do I think it's a bad thing that she takes the Skywalker name? It's not meant to be that way. It's meant to be in a way of saying, Luke Skywalker, the Skywalkers were a great family. They struggled, but they still stayed the course and became heroes. Anakin in the end saved his own son, even though he was manipulated and had so much darkness and hate inside him. Amazing. And then his son became a hero, even though his father had been manipulated by a dark force. So she's taking that name to honour the Skywalkers, not to say, I'm the best thing, I'm better than Luke. It was very, very interesting the other day. The lad who plays Finn, and I forgot his name, and someone said, one of these sites said, blah, 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 proves that Rey is a better Jedi than Anakin and Luke. And this lad came on and said, I'm not being funny, but Anakin would destroy us all, throw us all in a pit. I think that's wonderful. And I think that says something about the cast and JJ, that they don't like some of this narrative either. They haven't started this narrative. This narrative exploded after the disdain for The Last Jedi. And this could have all been avoided if JJ did all 3 films. That's where the mistake is. Now, JJ, again, is a human being, a very talented human being with feelings. And I believe, and I truly believe this, that he's doing his best to land this thing, to finish it off with class. Then he can move on to Warner Brothers, and then Disney will go to Kevin Feige. This is yours now. This is yours. I believe Kevin Feige will take over the responsibility of crafting these films. And he's got a big job ahead of him. And this is a bigger job than the MCU, because the expectation for the MCU when those films first started wasn't there at all. Nobody expected the MCU to become what it became. He was under very little pressure, but ultimately he pulled it off. And he has to do the same, but it's more difficult for him because of where Star Wars is now. But not just that. He has to maintain the streaming coverage of Star Wars and the cinematic journey. Now, he's doing the same thing with the MCU, but because that's so successful and he's connected it all up for 10 years, it's an easier job for the person who's going to have to take over from him, because Kevin can't do both jobs. So he's definitely going to be given the gig. It will be spun in a different way, of course, because they don't want to disrespect Kathleen Kennedy. They'll either say she's still president or they're working together. We shall see how they spin it. I love Star Wars. I don't want Star Wars to go away. But I think Star Wars is a difficult thing to do. Especially because, all these years we've been telling one story, the Skywalker saga. So you have to create a new saga, and you need someone with passion and imagination. And I don't think there's anyone better than Kevin Feige to do that. As for what I'm reading here, I'm not upset by this. I'm not. We knew from day one this was Rey's story. How can you be upset because it's actually Rey's story? Now, I know that they're doing this whole thing where she takes on the Emperor and she kills a powerful force. I hope it's believable and relatable. But this was her story. This was a great moment for Daisy. And at the end of the day, at this moment in time, I've got a bit of love in my heart and empathy for the human race, especially after losing my mum. You're wondering why I'm wearing black all the time? 2 weeks ago, my mother died when she shouldn't, because she didn't listen to me. She didn't take my advice to get seen by medical professionals earlier. So I've got a lot of regret and guilt in my heart about that. And I'm changing as a person all the time. And I've been ultra critical of Disney and what they do with the MCU and, what they've done with Star Wars. But ultimately, I believe they can turn this around. I want them to, because I'm a Star Wars fan. And if you're watching this, you're either a fan of me, I don't know why, because you just like watching me talk, or you actually care about Star Wars. And I think if you think about it and you think about those leaks, and if they're true, you'll agree with me. They're actually not that bad. But call me old-fashioned if you want. Wouldn't it be good if we actually just wait until we see the movie? Now I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't boycott this film. I'll tell you why you shouldn't boycott this film. Why? Why would you do that? As a Star Wars fan, why would you do that? If you told me to eat a fruit pastel, which is sweets, I don't know if you've heard of them, and I say, I don't want to eat them. Why? What reason? Why don't you want to eat them? I don't give you the reason because they're fattening, because they're bad for my teeth. I just don't want to eat them. Why? I have no reason for not eating them. Without tasting something, you can't judge it. They have revealed nothing in the trailers. Maybe it's because they're in a bit of a mess, but maybe, actually, they don't want you to see what's happening within the film. They don't want to reveal very much. Chris Terrio is a great screenwriter. I'm still stunned that JJ got him. I'm expecting something incredibly special here. I am. And I've been very reactive in the past about Star Wars. But now it's time to try and enjoy this. I'm going to start binging Star Wars from The Phantom Menace. I've been trying to work out what order to watch them in, and I realise now it's the prequels, it's Solo, then it's Rogue One, then it's the original trilogy, and I'm really excited about doing so. I want to look at these films in new eyes, calm down a bit, and see how Lucasfilm and J.J. Abrams finish this sequel trilogy. That's my advice to you. That's what I'm going to do. Right, please like, share, and subscribe. I want to hear your reaction in the comments down below. I don't care what you think of me. Try and be respectful. Try and be, nice. But if you disagree, that's fine. That's why I'm doing these videos. So comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video. Keep cool.